dominated possession. They've had some really good moments. They've had lots of nearly moments with crosses into the box. They look the stronger of the two sides. And other than the moment when En Nesyri planted a header in the corner of the net, they haven't looked troubled by Sevilla. But matches are settled by goals and not by domination of possession. And therefore at half-time in this UEFA Super Cup, it is City 0, Sevilla 1. Let's go back to the studio where we can join Natalie.
Thank you so much to Alistair Mann and to Andy Morrison for the first half commentary. We are in the studio, joined by Michael Brown, Steph Houghton and by Shaun Goater. I'll start you off with something positive. Don't forget that when we played Sevilla in the Champions League group stage last year, they went 1-0 up. We ended up winning the game 3-1, and of course it was a certain Rico Lewis with his debut goal when he equalised. So hopefully, I'm saying that, I mean, that's hopefully what's going to happen in the second half. And of course we saw Rico Lewis warming up towards the end of that first half as well. If there is any changes that we find out, of course, we will let you know as well. So, Michael, try and sum up that first half for us.
Well, it's a little bit frustrating, isn't it, when you're coming and you haven't defended that cross, which you knew there was going to be crosses and there was going to be opportunities for them. Dominating possession. I felt like with the heat, it will be a little bit slower than normal. Try and create some build-up, trying to create some opportunities. There's been some good chances, but not really created for the amount of shots, some clear-cut ones or as good a chances as you would expect. So they started to dominate more towards the end of the first half and got some good opportunities. I think the referee has to start clamping down on a lot of the fouls that have come, which is breaking City's possession up. But I expect a reaction second half, and I feel like the longer the game goes, I think City will come back into it and obviously create more opportunities.
I mean, it certainly felt like the way in the second half as well, Steph. I mean, the last sort of 10 minutes of the half, it really felt like we were starting to get into our groove a bit, and few chances coming towards the end of the half as well.
Yeah, I think as in City's rhythm hasn't been really as prominent in the first 20 minutes, but I think especially the last 10 minutes we started to do what we do. Grealish has had a lot of the ball in that last 10 minutes. He put in a great cross there and we couldn't really get on the end of it. But yeah, in terms of clear-cut chances, we haven't really made the keeper work as much as we probably would have hoped for. A bit of maybe a lack of concentration for their goal. But at the same time, Edison hasn't had anything to do. So I think the humidity is probably playing a part in this game, and where City are in their season, it's obviously only their second game really competing for a Super Cup and playing against Burnley on Friday. So I think where we are in the season, but I still expect us to be better than Seville going into the second half.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, City absolutely dominated. 74% of possession, 9 shots, 3 shots on target. Sevilla just having the 1 shot on target, of course, the shot that they scored from as well. In terms of that Sevilla goal, let's talk about it, Shaun.
Yeah.
I think it's a rare occasion. I don't know how many times I've seen this in modern-day City, where a team has taken the ball from the goalkeeper all the way through their team and put it in our net.
Yeah, it was a bit fortunate from the pass from the goalkeeper. It's a bit fortunate how it sort of gets through into the midfield, but once it goes wide, because of how City was set up, they just can't get the pressure onto the crosser. Can't get close enough. So that and again, as Steph said, in terms of the humidity, what you'd normally see if a game hurt, you'd see them get out a lot quicker. But because it's humid, they can't quite get there. And for me, the delivery of the cross is absolutely spot on. I think sometimes, you know, we can look at a goal and we can say, wow, you know, it's a defender this. But for me, I feel that this is just one of those crosses. It was just perfect for the attacker. Guardiola was actually only 2 yards behind Ake. But the attacker was just in between, and that just tells me that ball was just absolutely just right for the attacker. If it's a yard short, Ake gets onto it. If it's a yard over hit, then Guardiola gets on it. I just think it was a perfect ball for the attacker to get onto. It was an old school sort of header, Bruyne. I mean, the way he rose and the power that he got onto it.
I think for me, initially, obviously, in the build-up, it comes right through the centre. Very, very fortunate. There's a slight overload down that left-hand side on Kyle Walker, which he's trying to... We've just seen a clip back of it. We're actually trying to see him going a little bit tighter. He'd be a bit disappointed that he doesn't get closer to that cross. You'd expect to get some sort of foot on it if he can. But then you're watching the run. So if I'm Nathan Ake, I'm saying, where's my striker? How's he coming into the box? I've got Vardy behind me, so I've only got one to look from. We're just having a little debate about it before. You know, as a defensive sort of point of view, I'm looking and thinking, well, if that cross comes am I in a good position? Has somebody got a run to come and jump over the top of me? I felt like that the gap was there. I feel like you can go a little bit tighter, and then you can stop that one that carries over the top, and actually where you've got the power from the striker. I feel that's the one thing Nathan Ake, or the communication between the two, they'll be a little bit disappointed with.
He pulls off Ake's shoulder, so he actually makes the movement to go front post, but he actually then goes towards the back post. And I think being a centre half,
would you want to get some shirt? Would you want to get hold there? Would you want to get touch tight more?
Block his run and just put him off a little bit.
So you're really within a close distance.
Yeah, I think in terms of just to even stop him jumping as high as he does, I think you try and get your arm next to him and you try and stop his run, so it's not such a clean running header.
Because it's from a deep cross, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not as if it's just edge of the 18 where it's a bit quicker. So it's a great ball. Don't get me wrong, because it goes all the way around.
Yeah, Kyle's biggest strength is obviously in his 1v1 situation. I think he's obviously tempting the full-back or the winger to do that. And I think is a great cross. And you're probably thinking, OK, can Kyle do better? But I think, for me, Nathan Ake, as soon as that striker runs off the back shoulder, you've got to either stop him having a clean run, and Guardiola has to come over and try and help him as much as possible. And look, I'm not taking anything away from the header, because it's a fantastic header, but I think there's things that
the header was ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was a wonderful header. The timing, the direction,
to
the
head
power.
It down as well against Ederson.
But we are talking detail. We're talking the highest level, and that's why we're looking and saying, well, how can you eliminate it slightly? These are a couple of bits of detail.
I mean, Steph, you play centre half and you're exceptional at it. I think you're right in terms of what Ake should do, but I think what pauses him from doing that, there's another red shirt that's only about 4 yards in front of him. And I think that, and he's behind Akanji. He's out of Akanji's view. So he's thinking, if that ball goes there, can he get there? And I think that's what pauses him to go, I can't quite go with the lad that actually
It's interesting.
scores.
Do you think, Shaun, because Nathan Ake is being used to playing left back, sometimes when you change positions and obviously go from left back where you're normally not used to anyone being behind you to centre half where you have to be a little bit open and you have to be able to see what's in front, what's in behind, who's coming in.
Yeah.
Maybe he just hasn't got his bearings right. And look, I love Nathan Ake. I think he's a great defender, whether he plays centre half or left back. But I think City will be disappointed with the goal. But I think in terms of the whole game, I think they've showed promising forward attacks, and it's just, can we get Haaland into the game a little bit more? But
sometimes as well, you're too honest. When you see another run, you think, well, I'll go and do that, and I might be taken away from my position. And there is a little bit of that, to be fair. But I said that's one opportunity. They've took it, and it's how you react from that. We can talk about obviously conceding situations, but I just felt going forward for all the possession, City just needed to create a touch more. Yes, there's chances. Yes, there's possession. But you'd hope there was just a little bit more spark at the top of the pitch.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's interesting when you talk about the creative side, because they seem to be having this sort of mid-block, but eventually becomes a low block. But what I think Sevilla's doing really well, you normally have the full-back, centre-back. They normally have a box. And with that box, they actually have another player that's inside of it that's able to track where we see that normal signature run from City, midfielder running towards the byline, but they have another player in there. So they have 5 in that area that's able to stop us from making their sort of creative thing. So when we get there, Jack gets there and he's like, well, I haven't got the run going to the byline because there's a player already there stood with him, tracking him. He has to just sort of circulate.
I think he can make it a couple of times. I think they both can. Cole Palmer's coming inside. Does he chop line once or twice just to give something to think about, try and create a bit of space? I mean, Akanji playing that role we mentioned before, didn't we? Who was the one who was going to step in from that defensive situation? He's ended up sort of in a number 10 role at times, creating around the edge of the box. So fantastic from his point of view. That is another position that he can take on.
Is that a swap that you feel may happen? Then obviously we saw Rico Lewis warming up. Could it be a Rico Lewis for an Akanji?
Well, it's just where do you play Rico Lewis? You talk about Akanji, then it's central. So do you have 2 left-sided centre-backs? So you look and say, well, do we do one in the left-back position? If we want to put Rico Lewis there, then he can come and be the creator in the middle. So it could be Ake or Guardiola who could actually come away from it, or Leicester go with 2 left-sided centre-backs. And he thinks, well, that'll be okay. But he will want that extra player in there. And Akanji's got on the ball. It's nothing to do with how he's been creative. I just feel like it has to be in a bit wider area and a little bit quicker.
In terms of Nathan Ake and Guardiola, obviously the first time that they've played, started a game together. When a new player comes into the club, Steph, and you're playing with them, what is it like? Can you give us the kind of players' sort of side of playing with somebody for the first time?
Yeah, it's hard because you've got to build them relationships, and them relationships take time and it takes practice on the training pitch. And obviously Guardiola came in, was it last Thursday, straight into the team against Burnley, into the squad, and they'll have not trained that much before today's game. So it's going to take a bit of time, and he's a young player, and a lot of players when they come to Man City take a lot of time to kind of bed in and understand what Pep wants. And sometimes when there's someone new that's in, you've just got to try and talk them through the game as much as you possibly can and be positive.
So you're Nathan Ake, you're going to help him?
You've got to help him.
Because he's got a left foot.
Yeah,
he plays in your position.
You've probably understand.
Back, and he can drift in that left back position that I've had it on lockdown. I've had it on lockdown.
Yeah.
Nathan Ake's had it on lockdown.
So I wouldn't know what's going on that
side. Push up the field.
You know, it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah, it is hard.
And you think, well, he's one who's going to take game time from me, but it is the collective at Manchester City.
And at Leipzig, Guardiola played centre half. He hasn't played left back, so of course there's going to be totally new. But look, I think there's understanding from all of us here that where City are in the season, it's the beginning of the season with hardly any games. It's going to take us a bit of time to hit where we were at the end of last season.
Towards the other end of the pitch, obviously we've talked about not having too many clear-cut chances. There was a move by Jack Grealish towards the end of the first half, and I think we're all a bit flabbergasted about how the Sevilla player wasn't booked, Shaun.
Yeah, it was. He goes for the tackle, and it's his second leg, the trailing leg. But he purposely, for me, raises it to trip Jack, and he catches him up on his thigh. And Jack takes a few minutes to sort of shake it off because it catches him on his thigh, almost a bit of a dead leg. And I'm thinking, well, it's a really easy decision for the ref, but the ref doesn't call it, and it's those
amazing
things
that he doesn't book him, isn't it? It's amazing how he doesn't receive a yellow card.
Yeah. Because it feels like, I mean, obviously, I've known anyone here that's never played, but it feels like when he went down, that he's trailing leg. He knew where Jack was.
He knew exactly what.
Well, he's missed him, hasn't he? He's missed him with the first one, and then the second one comes round to make sure that he can't get in the advanced position.
That's not a natural way to fall, is it?
No, it's not, and he knows exactly what he's doing. He's catching him just to make sure he doesn't get the other side.
A few of them.
And I was just thinking before you deflected, it was not one of mine, surely.
Yeah, Bruyne knows that tackle.
It was a Shaun Goater tackle.
Described that perfectly.
Yeah.
I swear I looked at you there just by complete
Well, I knew it was coming.
Yes.
I was going to say it really, really early, but I didn't. But it was a bad foul. It was lucky there not to receive it. And that's what Jack Grealish at half-time was saying, come on, give me some protection. And even the lads in commentary were actually saying, you know, they were breaking it up, so many fouls in Kovacic, Rodri on the edge of the area. If he starts doing that, you know, you get into some better positions.
Now, an unlikely kind of, I don't know, I'm not going to call it partnership yet, but I've been looking out for it. I'm quite enjoying. Kovacic has had a few balls for Haaland. There was one in was it the Community Shield? No, it might have been the Community Shield as well. Kovacic has that ability to be able to see a pass, that can break the lines and can take everybody by a little bit of surprise. He's had a couple for Haaland tonight. Could that be something flourishing, Shaun?
It could. I mean, Kovacic has the technical ability, his quality. I mean, we see what he can do when he's got the ball close to his feet in little pockets, how he can maneuver out. But you're talking about the passing ability, and this is that thing that we're all wondering, like, can he deliver that? Can he also deliver goals himself? But we're seeing him, you know, look for Haaland to slide a couple of those passes. And I think the more they play with each other, train with each other, that'll be another.
He'll take more risk, I think. Do you know, when a new player coming in, I feel like he'll take more risk with those passes, because that's what you've got to do. That's what Kevin De Bruyne does. He thinks, well, if I lose it, I don't care. I'm going to be on point. I'm going to be close. And sometimes you could be a bit safe. You would imagine in this team that you just want to keep it flowing.
I love it. It's exciting me. It's something that I didn't think about. You've sent in loads of questions. I'm so sorry. I've just seen that the players are actually in the tunnel now. They're due to come out for the second half, as I was just about to crack on with some of the questions. But one, do you know what? We can't go 15 minutes and not quickly mention it. Steph, Nick has mentioned that you must be delighted with the City girls' performance today. And how do you think them doing so well will help your team?
Oh, well, if they bring that World Cup trophy back, it's going to do us the world of good. They're going to be coming back full of confidence, happy and want to get going again. But yeah, really, really proud of them all. Not just the City girls, but the whole team, really. I think it's been a long time coming, so thank God we're in a World Cup final.
Oh, I so want them to come back with their medals. And the first time you can imagine it. Thank you so much for sending in the questions. The team are, of course, running out now for the second half. The best place to get your full match commentary is, of course, on the Manchester City app. Alistair Mann and the legend that is Andy Morrison will take you through the second half. City 1-0 down, but of course, we were 1-0 down against Sevilla in the Champions League. and we won 3-1. So enjoy.